Chairman just arrived.
Morning, Joe.
Hey all, how are you?
Good.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Larry, how are you? Good to see you all. Let me make sure I see you all here. Perfect. How are we doing on a quorum? As you know, I'm bouncing around. I got the city summit for National League of Cities.
We do have a quorum.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, let's pull up the agenda here. Thank you for your patience.
You're a busy man.
It's a busy week. It's coming to an end here. The
Councilman, could we go ahead and do a roll call?
Yes, please. Let's start with the roll call. Thank you.
Supervisor Bartlett,
Here.
Board Member Krakow,
Here.
Mayor McCallum,
Here.
Councilmember Mitchell,
Here.
Councilmember Rodriguez,
Here.
Councilmember Buscaino.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alejandra. I want to, Ms. Mitchell, if you're okay, Judy, to pass over the gavel. I may have to just log off here so I can pivot to my role as president of National League of Cities in
Sure. Yeah.
as
I'm not
moderating
about it.
this
I'm
big summit.
be happy
Thank
to
you.
do that.
Thank you as a vice chair. Thank you so much. So with that, let's turn to item number 1 on today's agenda.
Mr. Chair, or
Yes.
Member Mitchell, yeah, I've got a recusal on item 1 because of a financial interest for a client, Universal Waste Systems. So I'm going to recuse myself on item 1, and I'll be back for item 2.
Thank you, Mr. Krakow. Okay, I believe we have Mr. Gee, who's going to present on item number 1.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Vicki White. I'll be presenting on behalf of Penguin today, and I'm just waiting for my slides.
Thank you, Ms. White.
There we go. Great, thank you. With this item, staff is proposing to execute contracts for combustion freight and marine projects as part of the Volkswagen Environmental Mitigation Trust Program. Next slide, please. To provide some, oh, sorry, bit of an echo. To provide some background, in November 2018 and March 2020, the board recognized a total of $165 million in VW mitigation funds for the administration and implementation of 2 project funding categories. And this includes an allocation of $60 million for the combustion freight and marine projects and $90 million for the zero emission Class 8 freight and port drayage trucks category. And on top of that, we received $15 million for administrative costs. In addition to these 2 funding categories, the program has allocated and designated 3 other project funding categories. These categories will be administered by 2 other air districts, including San Joaquin Unified APCD and Bay Area Air Quality Management District. In December 2019, South Coast issued a program announcement for the first installment of funds for the combustion freight and marine category, including a total of $30 million. This solicitation closed in March, and the eligible projects included the replacement or repower of Class 7 through 8 freight trucks, as well as other categories of vehicles, including waste haulers, concrete mixers, and dump trucks with near zero emission trucks. And in addition, this category included the replacement or repower of switcher locomotives to Tier 4 technology, as well as the repower of ferries, tugs, and towboats to Tier 4 emission standards. The solicitation was undersubscribed, and we received general public feedback for the reasons entities did not pursue applications under this program. These entities identified 3 contributing factors, including the incentive amount as compared to other incentive programs such as Moyer, Prop 1B, and HVIP was lower relative to these programs. The requirement to scrap an older vehicle was identified as a contributing factor, as well as the inability to leverage the VW funds with other state funds to help offset the higher purchase price of these vehicles. The table on this slide is just to give you an idea of what the other funding programs provide in terms of incentive amounts. The VW program provides, oh, sorry, not the next slide yet, go back one slide. Oh, I'm sorry, forward to the third slide, slide 3. Anyway, I'll continue. The table on this slide basically shows the VW program provides a maximum funding level of $85,000. However, for non-port trucks, so that would be other types of freight trucks that don't enter the ports, they were limited to a 25% of the total project cost. And based on the average cost for these low NOx trucks, that amounts to only about $45,000 to $50,000. And this program does require the scrappage of an older vehicle. So in comparison, for a similar truck project, the Prop 1B program offers an incentive of $100,000 per low NOx truck. And the HVIP, although they're currently depleted of funds, that program offered an incentive of $45,000. However, the requirement to scrap an older vehicle was not part of the HVIP program. It's strictly a new purchase program. So that gives you an idea of the lower incentive offered by VW. Next slide, please. The next slide I'm shooting for is the statewide outreach. I wanted to emphasize the Volkswagen mitigation program is being implemented by the 3 larger air districts in California on a statewide basis. So the outreach, I'm looking for my outreach slide. Sorry, that is slide 4, please.
Apologize, we're just having a little technical difficulties. Just give us one moment, please.
Okay, no problem.
Wayne, could I suggest that staff just verbally go through it? The board members have the package. The package is posted. I'm just concerned about the chair's time.
Please go ahead and proceed.
Okay, thank you. So given the statewide nature of this program, South Coast AQMD had to conduct more extensive outreach, not just limited to our air basin. So we conducted basically we hosted an informational webinar that was very well attended by 147 participants statewide.
Next slide, please.
Partnered with the other air districts throughout the state of California to help outreach into their regions. They also sent a subscriber list that they had existing for their incentive funding programs. And we sent over 136,000 emails to subscribers statewide. So very extensive outreach effort. And we also utilized social media to reach trucking associations, community groups, and the general public. The map, sorry, real quick, the map on this slide plots the location of where the applications were received from. Next slide, please. So staff has evaluated the projects to ensure all program and eligibility requirements were met, and we were required to develop a rank list of projects that's strictly based on the cost effectiveness for the amount of NOx emissions reduced. The VW funds, this portion of the VW funds are intended to mitigate the NOx increase from VW's illegal actions. So we really are focused on strictly on the NOx emission reductions from these projects. This rank list was given to a 5-member review team that consisted of members from South Coast AQMD, Bay Area, San Joaquin, CARB, as well as CAPCOA representatives. And upon approval of this list, staff recommends awarding the projects. as approved by this review panel. And of these projects, 86% of these projects will benefit disadvantaged or low-income communities statewide. Next slide, please. Table 1A shown here identifies the recommended projects totaling recommended on-road projects, the truck projects totaling 3.9 million. And in addition to that, we did receive one marine vessel engine repowering.
Sorry, Ms. White, I hate to cut you off. Ms. Mitchell, I'm going to pass over the gavel to you virtually, and I'll join you here after my my segment here.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
Thank you. Continue, Ms. White. Thank you.
Sorry about that. And Table 1B summarizes the one marine vessel project that we received for a total of $1 million. The heat map shows on this slide shows the distribution of funding statewide. Next slide, please. In summary, staff is recommending a total of 68 funding for 68 vehicles and equipment for a total of approximately 4.9 million. These projects will result in 25 tons per year of statewide NOx emission reductions, of which 13 tons per year of these NOx reductions will be within the South Coast Air Basin. Next slide. Staff recommends to execute the VW combustion category contracts for up to 4.9 million for on-road heavy-duty truck replacements, as well as the one marine vessel engine repowering project. And this concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions of staff on this item from any members?
A quick question.
Yes, go ahead, Carlos.
Thank you. On the slide 7, where it refers to the amount of emissions within our service area, is that about what is to be expected considering the history of the program? That is 25.1 tons a year statewide, of which is 13 is in our service area. Is that about the ratio that we would generally expect historically?
Yes, it is. These are for low NOx trucks, and it's expected for our understanding of where the natural gas fueling infrastructure is located. So this is relative to that. And generally speaking, it is very representative. We have a lot more vehicles here in South Coast that are eligible for these funds. So,
Yeah, if you look at the historical split for the Moyer program, the incentive program, it's about 44% within our basin, and then Prop 1B is 55%. So this is about right in terms of population density, as Vicky was mentioning.
Thank you.
Question.
Any other questions?
Question, Madam Chair.
Yes,
No.
go ahead, Larry.
The marine category, is that in San Diego or San Francisco?
I believe the marine project listed here is in San Diego, but if I'm mistaken, I'll make sure we clarify that.
Thank you.
One last question on slide 6, the 66 total projects that are listed there. Are those all within our district service area?
No, that's the statewide total for all the on-road truck projects.
Those
So
are-
the heat map refers to all the projects up and down the state, and it's reflected in the table.
I see. Okay.
Any other questions? I have a couple. Because this program was, let me go to my notes on this. Originally, this program was 30 million. And our air district was assigned the task of soliciting this all across the state. And we ended up with only an amount of 3.8 million going out, almost 3.9, going out for the being subscribed here. So I would like staff to explain so our board members understand a little more about what happened here and why this didn't get fully subscribed. It was actually a big disappointment at CARB that this money wasn't fully subscribed, but there were some reasons for that. I mean, one of the things was that CARB required 50% to be in disadvantaged communities too, I believe. Wasn't that part of the restrictions? But maybe staff could, Matt or Wayne could just describe a little bit more of this.
Why don't I let Wayne start and I can jump in and then staff can jump in if he prefers.
I was going to have Dr. Miyasada go ahead
Okay.
and explain it, Madam
Yeah.
Chair.
So it was also a disappointment to us, Mayor Mitchell. As you can see on slide 3, we put up a table. The concern was that this was a consent decree that was established by the state with VW, where we did not have input into that, how that was authored. So we were bound by the conditions of that settlement. That settlement outlined funding parameters which were not consistent with every other funding program in the state. So the applicants rightly were confused, for one, but also because it offered a lower amount than you can get in different programs. And so if you see from that table, the VW offered a maximum of 85,000 with scrapping. Now, proponents could say, well, I know I got 100,000 for Prop 1B and scrapped, so I still got a better deal. And I also know that HVIP, I don't have to scrap, but I can get 45,000. And so because they knew that there were potentially better deals on the table at one point, we believe that held up the number of applications. So a case in point is we now have a Prop 1B solicitation on the street for that same amount, $100,000 per near zero natural gas truck, but requires scrapping. And so, it is a bit of a difficulty. There are, there's model year requirements for Prop 1B for sure, but, I think that uncertainty and the promise of a potentially better deal really prevented folks from taking advantage of this. And this VW program did not allow stacking. So it didn't allow proponents to use other funds from state programs to plus up this program.
So is our Prop 1B fully subscribed?
It was just released last Friday from your board. And
That's
so
right.
we are pushing as hard as we can to replace as many pre-2010 trucks as possible.
Okay. The other thing is that 30 million was available in this tranche of funding. And so what is happening now with that 30 million? Where is it going? The rest of it.
Yeah,
other
Vicky,
than what we got.
yeah, we are in discussions with Capco and ARB on the provision of how we would use those other funds to make sure it's successful. But Vicky, you can provide more detail on that.
Yeah, I think so far in our discussions with CARB, the funds are still allocated to this category. We are considering another solicitation for this category to be administered by South Coast. What we're looking at is, instead of a competitive solicitation, maybe doing this on a first come, first served basis. And that will probably appeal to more fleets, because especially the smaller fleets, they typically need to make decisions quicker than some of our other programs allow. It's a much longer process to go through to get the grant. If we open this up first come, first serve, there might be some more interest in it. And we're also seeing if we can find opportunities for leveraging.
And so, I mean, this program was statewide. And so you found not only fewer applicants down here in our basin, but also in the Bay Area and across the state. Was that true?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Same thing.
Just because, yeah, as you know, Prop 1B and HVIP are statewide as well. They're just
Right.
administered by the other districts.
Okay. So, all right. Anything else? We do need an action on this to recommend the chairman to execute contracts. May I have a
Madam
motion?
Chair, we have a public speaker.
Oh, thank you. Let's do that. Yes, thank you, Larry, for reminding me of that. And let's see, we have a speaker that is calling in, and maybe Ron can help me with that. I can't see the number.
It's call-in user number 1.
Okay.
Can you hear me, please?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes, Ranji, we can hear you.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, board members. Thank you for your interest in this program. And I'm not sure, is Mr. Buscani still there or has he left? I have a quick question for him.
He did leave. He is expected to come back. So.
Okay. Thank you. Regarding this program, if it was undersubscribed, I would urge the board members to consider creating a trust fund and help the basin move to more zero emission technologies. Natural gas has helped us clean the air, but they have got billions, maybe not millions, several hundred, maybe tens of millions over the last 20 years. It's time we transition to zero emission technologies because given the scale of the problem we have in the basin, we need funding to help the technology, zero emission technology, move forward. Else, you could divert this fund to natural gas school buses, where there are a lot of school districts still wanting their buses to be replaced, and there are 50 kids in each bus going daily up and down. The benefit per kid is so much higher than in, let's say, a natural gas truck with one driver in it. So I would urge you to think broadly about this. Secondly, I would urge in coming that you will give extra fund in future for fuel cell trucks, given that it takes a little more challenge to bring that cost down competitively. If you keep giving the same funds for battery and fuel cell, battery technology would crush fuel cell technology as it has done last 20 years. So I would urge you to give extra funding. And third thing is, when we give out a solicitation, if for every $1 you give for battery, we should have set aside $1 for fuel cell technology. That way, we can encourage both technologies to move forward. And thank you for let me share my view. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ranji. Now, do we have any other speakers?
Madam Chair, I'll move the item.
Okay, we have a motion by Larry to approve the item. Do I have a second?
Bartlett, second.
And a second by Lisa Bartlett. And maybe we have a roll call, please.
Supervisor Bartlett,
Yes.
Board Member Kraka,
He abstained. He has a conflict.
Vivian, you may be muted.
He had a conflict.
He's not in this item.
He's not. Okay, that's right. He had to recuse.
Mayor McCallum,
Yes.
Councilmember Rodriguez,
I vote yes.
Councilmember Mitchell.
Yes. So
Motion passes 4 ayes.
thank you. We'll move to item 2. I need to announce that I do not have a financial interest or a conflict of interest in this matter, but money is coming in from California Air Resources Board on this, and I am a member of that board. So we will ask for the report from Miriam Hajbabai. Did I say it right?
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Mariam Hajbabai, and I'm an air quality specialist with Technology Demonstration Group. And the item that I will be presenting today is to recognize, fund, execute, and amend agreements for installation and maintenance of air filtration systems. Next slide, please. To give you a background, the board approved and recognized 86 million funds for a community air protection program, CAP, in December 2019. From this amount, 6.3 million is approved by CARB to be used to install and maintain air filtration systems in all 3 Year 1 AB 617 communities. In addition, CARB executed 2 agreements for implementing SIPs, one with Long Beach Container Terminal and the other one with Vortec Engineering INC, to install and maintain air filtration systems in schools and residents. Next slide, please. IQR North America has been previously selected through a competitive bid process and has installed air filtration systems at 92 schools and community centers. The air filtration technologies that IQR provides, either the filters or the standalone units, has the minimum 85% removal efficiency in for ultrafine PM, and also the standalone units can operate at the threshold which is in compliance for schools for the noise levels. Next slide, please. The current proposal is to install air filtration systems identified by Community Steering Committee and South Coast AQMD using CAP funds in the amount of $6.3 million in AB 617 communities, and also implement 2 CARB steps, one at one school in an EJ community and the other one to provide additional funds to augment residential air filtration pilot study that was approved by board in April 2020 in San Bernardino County. Next slide, please. This table actually summarizes the proposed schedule for these 2 projects. We are expecting to install the air filtration systems at school by February 2022, and for residential air filtration systems installation, we are expecting to accomplish that by December 2021. Next slide, please. The recommended actions for this item are to recognize up to $17,600 and $9,250 from CARB from Air Filtration Fund, and also execute contracts with IQR North America, one in an amount of $6.3 million to install air filtration systems in AB 617 communities from Fund 77, and the other 2 from Air Filtration Fund 75, one for $17,000 and the other one for $9,000 for implementing the SEPs. Next slide, please. In addition, we are going to execute agreements with CARBs or schools as needed to implement the SEPs, and also reimburse the general fund for administrative costs up to $1,300 from Air Filtration Fund 75. And that concludes my presentation, and I will be happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Great. Are there any questions for Mariam Hajbabai?
Yes, Madam Chair, McCallum.
Yes, go ahead, Larry.
Just what is going to be the selection process, the criteria that's going to be used for the schools, and will there be equity between the 3 communities?
Well, yes, actually, for AB 617 communities, our AB 617 team has actually developed 3 different prioritization lists for the schools in AB 617 communities that we're gonna select from that list, and we're gonna equally try to fund 10 schools from each community group in AB 617 community groups for this program. So it's going to be.
So Mayor, we're working with each of the steering team or the steering committees in each of the communities, and the goal is to do 10 schools per community.
The slides talk about community centers. Are any of those included, or just schools?
So right now the top 10 is basically mostly child care center, because child care centers and elementary schools, because the way that they prioritize the schools was technically going from the younger kids to actually adults and upper. So the top 10 are actually mostly daycares and elementary schools.
When the selection process is done, will this come back to the board?
It's part of their SARE program, Community Air Protection Plans, that 17 teams has developed and approved in last year in 2019.
Thank you.
You authorize me to enter into agreement. So once you authorize it, Mayor, then it would just go.
Okay, I'm just want to make sure that San Bernardino County gets its share. It's sort of been the stepchild when it comes to school filtration systems. Everything seems to go down in LA.
it would probably be a good idea to notify our board members in the SERP areas when that, what schools are going to be affected, so they can send out the word on
We'd be
that.
happy to provide those lists.
And any other questions on this?
Just one follow-up to Mayor McCallum. So will the process of selection of the schools be one in which the schools apply themselves, or are we making the selections, or both?
My understanding, Councilman, is that we worked with the community steering team committees in each of the 617 communities. So it was based on the input from those steering teams.
Have the selections already occurred then, or?
There is a priority list, but the actual implementation has not yet occurred.
Okay, so the steering committee created a priority list, you say?
That's correct.
I'd be interested in seeing that, and perhaps you can share that with the committee. And what would be the timing of that selection on that priority list then?
I think we outlined that in the slides. I think the final implementation is in February of 2022, but the school selection will be done in the beginning of the summer in 2021.
Matt, you have a slide number?
I see.
Slide 5.
And is there the possibility to amend the list if there's new information or other, I mean, to Mayor McCallum's point, let's say hypothetically he's not pleased with again, hypothetically,
Be right back.
pleased with the list. There's no
I gotta pick something up.
in the county here. Would there be an opportunity for him to say, well, what about, this area of my county, and why wouldn't they be considered? I mean, is there a window of opportunity for that?
Yes.
And okay, and how would one exercise that? Would we have the information? So where would we start with that? Getting that list, and what would you recommend?
I believe if you go ahead, Wayne.
So the challenge here, Councilman, is that the CAP funds are supposed to be distributed according to the community emission reduction plans, which are developed in coordination with the community steering committees. So the issue that you're touching on is actually a really sensitive issue from the community perspective, because it's the communities that are trying to identify and define. And in fact, that's probably why the board does not approve the plan. That is CARB's responsibility to approve the plan. So with regards to us being able to go in, it is a little bit more difficult than I think what you might believe. We have to do that in conjunction with the community steering committee, get the community steering committee approval, and move that forward. Otherwise, the remedy really is for the CSC to go to CARB. And based on everything that we've seen, and I'm sure the Mayor Mitchell can attest, CARB is very supportive of the CSCs and the community designation. And if we were to try to change that, it would be very, very contentious.
I would suggest that if you're very interested in this, that you go to some of the steering committee meetings, and you can have your input there. And they don't have to accept your recommendation, but the whole idea of this program was for the communities to recognize and identify emissions in their community that they want the air districts and CARB to focus on. And that then after they put together their plan, then the air districts and CARB implement it. So you can be part of that process, but we want to give the steering committees and the community a great deal of authority and autonomy over their plans that they develop.
I see the reference of the community steering committees on slide 4. Was there another slide that outlined the makeup of those committees?
Well, each committee has a list of members, and that's available.
All of this is on our website. Every community action plan, every SERP is on there, so that you can go and look at each community and what they are developing in their SERP. And it'll tell you how many meetings they've had, who's on the steering committee, give you a pretty good history of everything that's going on. And this has become, since this legislation was enacted a couple of years ago, one of the major programs of our air district and the other air districts that are doing this right now. Not all of them are. And so I have been saying this at various meetings that I hope our board members will start paying attention to it, because it is a major part of our activities. And I urge all of you, and you can do it easily now with Zoom meetings. You can just tune in to the community steering committee meeting and hear what's going on, and be recognized and to say things if you would like.
My interest is not to override what the community has selected. I understand the selection process, and I respect what the community group has put together. I just wanted to make sure that we get our share, and I would like to know what the prioritization list is for the schools in the San Bernardino area.
We're happy to provide that, Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
Well, again, I'll just echo the sentiments of seeing the entire list across the not only San Bernardino County, but the entire service area would be helpful.
I think that would be helpful too to our board members to know when that selection is made and which schools they are, the names of the schools in the various communities in the AB 617 program.
I couldn't agree more. I look forward to seeing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Any other questions or comments on this item? Okay, I'll look for a motion to approve this.
The item, Madam Chair.
Are you making the motion, Larry?
Yes.
Okay, motion by Larry and a second by Carlos.
I'll second. Yes.
Okay.
You read my mind, Mayor Mitchell.
Okay, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Supervisor Bartlett,
Yes.
Board Member Krakow,
Yes.
Mayor McCallum,
Yes.
Councilmember Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilmember Mitchell.
Yes,
Motion passes 5 ayes.
thank you. We'll move on to item 3 now. And we'll have a presentation by Sung Bum Ha. So Dr. Ha, go ahead.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm Singbum Ha, Program Supervisor in Tech Demo Group. Today, I'm going to present the item to recognize revenue and execute a contract with Airbus and companies for electrification of transport refrigeration units. Next slide, please. In August, South Coast AQMD awarded EPA Diesel Emission Reduction Act funding, about $2.2 million, to replace diesel transport refrigeration unit, so-called TRU, with electrified TRU and install supporting infrastructure. Electrifying TRU to eliminate idle and facilitate zero-emission over-the-road operation are one important way for our zero and near-zero emission technology roadmap. Diesel TRU are one of critical emission source near a distribution center and other facilities where TRU park and idle, and these are generally considered as a disadvantaged communities. Electrifying TRU project include 2 different types of technology, hybrid and all-electric TRUs. Hybrid TRU uses a diesel engine on the road and use onboard electric motor while plugged into grid at the parking space. All battery electric TRU is equipped with an onboard battery and use electric power from the battery while both on the road and parking. Next slide, please. Under this project, total 41 diesel TRU will be replaced with 15 all-battery electric and 26 hybrid TRUs, including insulated trailers. To support these electrified TRUs, 15 charging infrastructure for all-battery electric TRUs and total 194 electrified parking spaces for hybrid TRUs will be installed. These electrified parking spaces will support not only new hybrid TRUs, but also existing hybrid TRUs. The all-battery electric TRU will be operated at 100% zero-emission mode. Hybrid electric TRUs are estimated to operate about 50% of annual run hours on diesel and the remaining 50% on grid-supplied electricity while parked. Next slide, please. Total project cost is about 6.2 million. EPA will provide 2.2 million and Arbison companies will provide 4.1 million as a cost share. Next slide, please. Recommended actions are to recognize revenue about 2.2 million from EPA Clean Diesel funding into Clean Fuel Fund, and to authorize to execute a contract with Arbison companies for $2,170,975 for electrifying TRU project, and reimburse about $69,000 for AQMD step administrative cost. This concludes my presentation. Thank you.
You're muted.
You're muted, Judy. You're still muted. Judy,
We can't
you're
hear you,
muted.
Mayor Mitchell.
Madam Chair, you're muted.
This is the hard thing. Always doing that. Are there any questions for Dr. Ha?
A question about what kind of NOx PM reductions are we talking about with this program?
So from the proposal from Arbison, they are estimating about 13 tons of NOx and about 2,300 tons of carbon monoxide emission reduced annually from these new trucks, as well as existing the hybrid TRUs and the electric parking spaces.
So I'm sorry, how much NOx?
13 tons of NOx annually.
Annually.
Yes.
And PM?
The 1.5 tons of PM 2.5 will be reduced, the same as
annually.
Yes.
Albertson's putting up most of the money, I guess.
Yes, they are provide the cost, the cash match share to purchase these electric and hybrid TRUs as well as infrastructures.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Are there any public comment?
Yes, Ron.
Yes, Ranji George.
Can
Go
you
ahead,
hear me?
Ron.
Yeah.
Yes,
Thank
you
you.
can-
Thank you, Ms. Mishra. And board members, I have a quick question. In as much as we are going forward with the electrification of TRU units, I hope board members can persuade staff to have a project looking at fuel cells, either having a fuel cell on board of a truck or fuel cells on site that can electrify, that can provide the power for the trucking. In future, I hope as we spend, let's say $5 million, at least 10 or 20% of it should be for such R&D, I mean, a little more longer term projects to see the viability, feasibility, and to identify gaps of technologies that need to be addressed within that. So I would urge you to introduce the element of fuel cells in the trucking business. So thank you.
Thank you, Ranji. Is there any other public comment?
No other public comment.
Thank you. Okay, is there any other board discussion on this item?
Mayor Mitchell, I just
Yeah.
wanted to ask Matt if he could speak to Ranji's comment on the fuel cell pursuit and how that might be complementary of our participation in the fuel cell partnership.
Thank you.
Yeah, so as you know, council member, the fuel cell partnership is mostly focused on light duty. As you know, through your efforts and ours, and previously with Dr. Burke's effort, we have been pushing them, nudging them toward medium and heavy duty applications. There currently aren't that many original equipment manufacturers that are doing, other kind of lower or smaller inventory, smaller market fuel cell applications. And that's just due to probably economics, right? If there's not market pull, it makes it difficult for them to invest in the research and development for a new product. In this case, with the TRU, there is a significant emissions reductions, and because battery costs are declining fairly rapidly, there is a potential for a business case. And so there is greater opportunity for an actual product to result from this. And we're working with one of the major TRU manufacturers. We would be happy to entertain a project with a fuel cell provider that would work with them, and we could bring that up to the technology provider. But as you probably recognize, that would be probably more expensive, a longer lead time to get to a commercial product. And so this is probably the first entree into that duty cycle and that technology. So we will certainly keep our eyes open and look for opportunities to do that. But at this point in time, this looks like there's a line of sight toward a product.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Then I think we need a motion on this one also.
Bartlett, motion to approve.
And a second, please.
I'll second.
Second from Carlos Rodriguez, and then roll call, please.
Supervisor Bartlett,
Yes.
Board Member Krakow,
Yes.
Mayor McCallum,
Yes.
Council Member Rodriguez,
Yes.
Council Member Mitchell.
Yes.
Motion passes 5 ayes.
Thank you. Is there any other business to come before the committee today? We're on item 4. Seeing nothing. Is there any general public comment?
Yes, Ranji George.
Yes, go ahead, Ranji. Ranji, we can't hear you.
Ranji, you're up for public comment.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can
Hello?
now. Go
Okay,
ahead.
sorry about that. Ms. Mitchell, I understand you will be leaving the board end of this year. Many of us will be very saddened with your departure. You have been very fair in everything what you have done. Try to balance various interests, listen to both sides very patiently. This is something very rare these days. As soon as a conversation happens, many people cut you off. Cut people off. But you have been very fair to let them finish their arguments, and then when you respond, it clearly shows that you heard the other side. And thank you for your leadership in all these various committees, and thank you for putting the balance right on the fuel cells and battery from my perspective. And you have in various forums mentioned both technologies. I hope after you retire, you will continue to do that. I'm really saddened to know in the state and USA, the knowledge of batteries are profound, but the fuel cells knowledge is so limited. In my own group, if I talk to people who have graduate degrees and all that. Most of them have heard of batteries, but I'm really surprised that very few have heard of hydrogen fuel cells. But your leaderships, madam, hopefully will continue beyond your participation in AQMD. And also, I want to thank the board members. Again, I continue to thank you, board members, for your participation in the Kyle EPA discussion of, I think, November, when they discussed the battery recycling. Your board members raised terrific questions, very relevant. I hope you will continue forward with that. There were some legislators who wrote to the governor saying fuel cells should be in the mix and it should be neutral. I hope the board members who made those comments will join those legislators in writing to the governor that fuel cell should be now targeted. What has happened the last 20 years, ARB and others have, for every $1 spent on hydrogen fuel cells, there be literally almost $10 spent on batteries and through various programs. And this has made fuel cells so behind batteries. Batteries have gone so much forward as far as cost effectiveness is concerned that it will be very tough for fuel cells to catch up unless there's a great push from policymakers like Ms. Mitchell and other board members on state and national levels. So thank you, Ms. Mitchell, for all your services. We'll greatly miss you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ranji. Yes, I don't know exactly when my last meeting will be on here at South Coast Air Quality Management District, but it has been a wonderful experience for me. And I appreciate all of my colleagues and all of the staff here that have worked so hard to help us address public health and reduce emissions in our South Coast Basin. So I will be on at least through the December board meeting, but after that, I'm not sure how when the would be called. So anyway, thank you so much. And I didn't run for re-election, Larry, like you. You know, I'm stepping away now. I'm gonna do some other.
I didn't have any opposition, so it was an easy decision for me.
Easy decision for you. No, I had decided some time ago that I didn't want to run again and want to have some time to do some other things. And I'll miss this. I've loved every bit of the work here and all my colleagues, wonderful people here to work with. And so I will miss all of that, but it's been a wonderful experience for me. And I'm so glad that I had the privilege and the opportunity to do it. So.
Well, you'll be missed.
Anyway,
you'll be missed on all of the boards and commissions and your city, I'm sure. So we just wish you the best luck. And I'd like to echo what Ranji said in total. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. And I wish you all a happy Thanksgiving. We will next meet at the probably at the board meeting in December. And this next meeting is December 18th. I guess we're going to meet in December again. So I will adjourn this meeting and wish you all a good weekend and a good Thanksgiving. Thank you.
You too. Bye.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thank you.
End recording.